I'm back, Biff.
Best service afterwards. Being in business for over 50 years has given Doan Ford the reputation of being a strong, reliable dealership. Be certain. Choose Doan Ford. Online at doanford.com.
I'm not buying till I check Doan Ford.
I'm Josh from Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration. I hope you are staying healthy. We continue to respond to structural, fire, and water emergencies. We are combating COVID-19 with our highly trained staff and latest disinfection systems, providing preventative and reactive disinfection to facilities around the region, while working with area hospitals on isolation areas and air filtering. At Panhandle, we continue to follow social distancing and hygiene protocols. We are dedicated to our community, and together, we will get through this.
A serious injury from an accident can be just the start of your worries. What if you cannot return to work? How do you take care of your family if you're disabled? At Gelner Law Offices, we represent seriously injured people and understand their problem. We know how to get you fair compensation. We will work hard to make sure you get the money you deserve for your losses. Don't go it alone. If you're hurt in an accident, call us at 304-242-2900 or visit us at gelnerlaw.com.
We'd like to help.
Hello everyone, from the Watchdog, I'm the Storm Tracker Darnell Foster. Weather look at your local weather forecast for your Friday. Mostly cloudy and cold through the day, a high near 36. Clouds holding strong through the evening and the overnight with temperatures near 27 for the low. Another cloud-filled afternoon for your Saturday with temperatures in the mid-30s. Have yourself a great day everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of this station or its sponsors.
Hello, sweetie.
Welcome to the show. So, you got any plans this weekend?
Valentine's Day is coming up.
That's this weekend?
This weekend.
Valentine's Day it is.
Oh, that's sweet. Valentine's Day is nice for couples.
So what do you want to do?
Well, it's Valentine's Day, so...
Candy, flowers, that's easy.
Don't take flowers and candy. Show up like a man.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Come on, it's showtime.
Something to think about, something to laugh about, and something to talk about every day. This is the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe. Brought to you in part by Wheeling Hospital.
Well, it is Valentine's Day this weekend. I got a couple of Valentine's Day tidbits I want to pass along to you as we prepare for the Day of Love here in the Ohio Valley and around the world. That's coming up in a minute or two. Also, newspaper editor John McCabe and I will have our usual Friday roundtable. Legislature getting underway in West Virginia. A couple of local stories we need to take some time to talk about as well. Impeachment managers wrapped up their presentation yesterday. Defense says they won't take very long today to make their case in the trial of Donald Trump. Former Congressman Bob Ney was with us to discuss that in the last hour of the show. Weather-wise, looking for cloudy skies, quiet weather most of the day. I do see some snow is coming down outside the home studios, at least right now. And we do expect some patchy snow flurries on and off throughout the day, but shouldn't be any serious problem today. Tomorrow could be, Zach was telling us earlier, he wasn't sure, some new information about the track of the weather patterns just came in earlier this morning, and he was going to try to sort of figure that into his calculations. So we might have a rough day tomorrow night, Sunday morning, maybe not as bad as had been thought. Currently, still 24 degrees at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport, 24 degrees at my home studios here in the Elm Grove section of Wheeling, and 24 at the Robinson Auto Group studios downtown Wheeling in the heart of the Ohio Valley. That 24 degrees with about a 10-mile-an-hour wind blowing around out there makes it feel like 14 degrees outside. You know, Biff, it was interesting. Steve from St. C is a door dasher.
Yes, he is.
His free time. And I would think that has the potential to be kind of a fun job. You get to get out and you get to drive around and to different places. I mean, you don't want to be doing it during Tuesday snowfall, you know.
No, but
which is why I didn't order any food for delivery on Tuesday, because I felt like I don't want to make anybody go out. But I think it'll be kind of fun.
Well, think of
just to drive around. You make a little bit of money, but
think all the people that did it on Super Bowl Sunday. And I'm sure the money,
sure,
you made there. I mean, think of all the big sporting events if we have them, that we do have. I know Sunday is NASCAR's version of their. I guess we still got to call it the big game, but NASCAR's version of that, the Daytona 500, that is kind of their big game right there. I mean, you have that Sunday, so I don't know how many people will.
Well, and Valentine's Day is Sunday. People may want to have a nice meal. This might be a time to use an Abby's or Figueretti's or someplace like that. Deliver a nice meal.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
I just think it'd be kind of interesting to be able to drive around and meet different people, and I suppose you can't sample the food, can you?
I don't think.
That's probably not what they want you to do.
No, I think they frown upon
Mr.
that.
Monroe, here's your sausage, gravy, and biscuits. It's a very good. They've made it very well today. I took a quick taste.
I broke off a corner of one of the biscuits to try.
Like I said, no offense, but if I see Steve from St. C driving up in front of my house with my food, I'm going to be like, I'm not so sure about that. No, I think Steve would be a fine Door Dasher. I'm going to keep an eye out for him. Valentine's Day coming up on Sunday, as I mentioned. What's the number one thing moms want on Valentine's Day, according to a new survey, Biffy?
Flowers.
You would think flowers, candy, maybe jewelry. Nope. The number one thing moms want on Valentine's Day this year is to be left alone.
Have a day for themselves?
Wow. I guess probably, after 10 months of lockdowns and no school and the kids are home and maybe everybody's stuck in the house working together all day long, maybe moms just want, please, just leave me alone. Give me a day to myself, please. But according to this survey, the most popular gift that moms want is me time. Me time. A third of moms say they would give up their phone for a month just to get more me time on a regular basis. So if you want to do something special for the loved one in your life, especially if she's a mom, just leave her alone. Let her go in there. Let her go in the bedroom and take a nap or something. Say, I'll see you on Monday. Yeah, see you on Monday. 62% of the people surveyed say Valentine's Day is an important day this year. I don't think Valentine's Day has the same. It would be affected by the pandemic the same way that Thanksgiving or Christmas was. Valentine's Day tends to not be a big family gathering, have a big meal kind of thing like Christmas or Thanksgiving. It tends to be one-on-one. If you're not going to leave mom alone or not leave the loved one in your life alone, just the two of you, that seems to me to be it seems like a good pandemic holiday. 62% say they anticipate making the holiday an important one this year. About half of the people surveyed say the pandemic will not affect how much they spend on Valentine's Day either. And I have a list here of some silly things you could do to make Valentine's Day special without spending a lot of money. Write and mail an actual letter, not an email, an actual handwritten letter. Send a voice recording. Yeah. Create a playlist of songs that remind you of your special someone. I know people do that, and I guess that's romantic. I'll just play Spotify. Send a delivery of their favorite foods, maybe something romantic like wine or chocolate strawberries. I think that's true on any Valentine's Day. Ship a Valentine's Day care package with their favorite items. This, of course, would be if your loved one is not in town, you're not going to be with them. Here's another one of those things I don't get it. Schedule a Zoom call and have a paint and wine night. No. Zoom is for conducting business or doing no. This idea of, just being together on Zoom, nah, I don't get that. Send someone something physically comforting like a blanket or a stuffed animal to cuddle with. Consider spraying your perfume on it so it smells like you. All right. These are stupid ideas. It's a list from CNN on some things that you can do for Valentine's Day. All right, it's 9:18 here on the Watchdog Morning Show. Time to talk about Ohio Valley News of the Week. John McCabe is here with me. Good morning, John.
Hey, morning, Howard.
Any big Valentine's Day plan for you and your sweetie?
Not really. nothing
I'm going to
major.
take that as a no.
Well, I mean, I'm sure we'll go out to dinner tonight or tomorrow, and do something like that. But nothing overly, exciting. It sounds. I hope she's not listening because it
Valentine's
sounds
Day.
overly unromantic. So
It really sounds terrible, John. I'm going to be honest with you. It sounds like no. I'm not going to do much for her. Not at all.
Oh, I've got a gift. I mean, I do have some things planned, but it's not. I wouldn't say. I don't know. Let's move on.
Okay. Well, let's move on. Hey, I need to start off on a really sad note this morning, John, on our Newsweek in Review segment. Another journalist from the Ohio Valley passed away this week. Quite a surprise to me. Guy that I thought was a really great asset to your team when he was here in town, and he left here. I mean, he was here in Wheeling for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of became your natural gas guy for a good while when the gas industry was just really becoming a big news story. Casey Jenkins passed away.
Yeah, really unexpected when we learned that yesterday morning. Casey was 42, grew up in Belmont County, went to Valera High School and Ohio University Eastern, and really, I still, as I posted in a nice little tribute to him yesterday, I still remember the day he walked into our office, and back in late 2006, and really didn't know much about journalism. At the time, he was a political science major, really enjoyed politics, but you could just kind of tell he was, just when you talk to someone, sometimes you just know they're going to be a really good reporter because they just have, they're inquisitive, eager, want to know what's going on, want to, find ways to tell stories to people so they understand what's happening in their communities. And, and Casey was, fit all those bills. And, really within the first few months of him being here, distinguished himself as just a extremely solid reporter. Had some memorable run-ins with city officials over the years, concerning pay raises and other things, and and always our facts were always right. It's just it was a simple matter of when you tell the truth, you take the hit sometimes, and you just stand by what you report. But no, so Casey was here in Wheeling for about a little over 11 years, and had been talking to me about some growing in our profession and becoming an editor. And we had an opportunity at another location in New Hampshire, and he went up there for a little over a year and really got to experience the fascination that is the presidential process as it rolls through New Hampshire, and every candidate comes basically to throughout New Hampshire in the primary season and prior to that. And then after that had moved on to South Dakota to cover state government in Purr, which those of us who aren't from South Dakota call Pierre. But he quickly corrected me first time I talked to him that out there they call it Purr. Purr, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I would never would have imagined. But he said, "That's what he learned so far." And he said, "Well, I know it's not Pierre, it's Purr." But he got to cover, again, really a fascinating time there with Governor Kristi Noem taking a much different tact with COVID and how the state responded to it, and again, different events, but really seemed to, I kept in touch with Casey, about once a month we would talk and text and different things, and he really seemed to be doing the same things there that he did here. He distinguished himself just as a really solid reporter and editor, and it was, you mentioned the gas industry. I mean, if you do think about it, that's the one thing that to me, it's not the one thing, but it really does stick out of the type of person and reporter he was. That I still remember when. I can't remember if it was, Marshall County Commission or somebody had signed a huge gas lease at the time, at least a huge gas lease for a bunch of property in Marshall County. And we, of course, had heard and been, kind of tangentially reporting on a few things happening with companies going around and looking, buying up mineral rights leases. But that really was the day when, I remember Mike Meyer and I sat Casey down and said, we really need somebody to dig into, what in the world is fracking, what the environmental impacts might be, what are the economic impacts of this growing industry. And he jumped right in, and I'll stand by the statement that he probably knew more about fracking for a long time than just about any other journalist in the country, because he immersed himself into it like a good reporter should. I mean, he really understood the inner workings, the chemicals they used, the dangers, how the rocks broke apart, how much water they pumped in, the type of sand they used, all those things that, are most of us don't get too deep into the weeds on, but he really, really got into, methane levels and methane emission levels when they flare. And, that's what a good reporter is supposed to do when you ask them to kind of immerse themselves in that. And for, a 6-7 year period, he really covered the gas industry phenomenally well. So no, really, it's kind of public knowledge now. He died at home of a stroke. Again, very unexpected. He had, was commenting on things Monday, and it worked Monday, and so it's just the best to his family. He still has some family here in the area, but just another reminder of how precious life is.
His mother and father both had passed at an early age. I mean, when he was very young, I think, if I remember correctly.
Right, he was 12, 13. Yeah.
He was always very, very mindful of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he even out in South Dakota, he had written a Mother's Day column last year, talking about just the being a 12-year-old and having essentially, I think it was 12 or 13, and both of his parents had passed, and kind of the struggles of again, he wrote about it in our paper here as well. I mean, he went back and forth between family members, and eventually found himself in foster care for a while. Didn't have the easiest life, but growing up, and especially during those really formative years of a teenager, didn't have the role models maybe that some of us had to help point us in the right direction. But really, Casey was he was able to overcome all that and really worked hard. I mean, that's the one thing I'll say for him. He was not afraid to work hard. He would spend long hours here in the newsroom. He would, again, we did a lot of, really fun and interesting things together. The two of us, and just, driving around Marshall County early on in the gas industry, and, stopping it, talking to farmers who had no idea what in the world hydraulic fracturing was. All they, wanted to know was, where's my check? Going out to the Krishna Palace. If you recall, the Krishnas got about a $10 million infusion out of the Palace of Gold by selling their natural gas rights. That really helped to gave them the resources to be able to restore the palace, and at least in their mind, helped to shed some of their past history and the things that happened there with Swami Bhaktapad and the devotees. So Casey and always enjoyed that, and that to me there's nothing worse when you ask a reporter, hey, let's just hop in the car and go drive around town and see what's going on. Oh, well, why would we do that? Well, because, no good story happens here in the office. You got to go out and look for them sometimes, and you just drive around and see what's happening, and Casey always enjoyed that a lot. I think he just enjoyed being around people. And, for him, the newsroom was his family.
I think we forget, too, how little we all knew about fracking in the early days of the industry around here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we all were learning together, and Casey was kind of at the forefront of that, and the newspaper was, and
mm-hmm.
brought us an awful lot of it. In fact, at one point, you actually had a whole, some extra paper or
mm-hmm.
an insert that you did on a regular basis about the fracking industry. But, I mean, we all had to learn together on that, and Casey was really in the forefront of that. Getting that information and sharing with people, and again, I think today we forget how little we knew back then. So
yeah, I agree.
He was a good guy. One of the ways I always judge a reporter, I got to know Casey personally, but is how many times do I reference their stories on the air here?
Mm-hmm.
How many times do they generate stories that are worthy of conversation above and beyond just a newspaper headline? And, I was always looking to see what's Casey writing about because he often would have stories that prompted good conversation on the radio show. So he was, it was a sad story. I was really just stunned to, you've had some tough. The Mike Myers passing recently was a stunner to me, and now Casey. When you get somebody who's 69 and retired, and whatever, you kind of expect it. But when you get active people,
right,
it's just strange.
Well, it does make it makes our common our shared humanity really kind of set in, and always a good time for reflection. You just to maybe end it with you mentioned how much you talked about his stuff on the air, and it wasn't just you. Outside of our paper and our papers in the state, I still recall early on Brad McElhenney, who of course now works for Metro News. Brad was then the editor and down in Charleston. Andy Friend was the publisher, and Brad called and said, "Hey, you guys are running all this gas stuff. Do you mind if we pick it up and maybe run it a couple days a week? Some select stories that Casey wrote, and we'll give byline and say from the Wheeling and Tell." And so he had a good market, again, as the entire state learned. He was at the forefront, because this area was at the forefront, and really got him a lot of statewide attention with, just helping people to understand what in the world fracking was, why the natural gas industry was growing so quickly. And so no, it's just good memories of Casey, which is what I think those of us who worked with him will continue to carry around.
And it is, as you point out, an important reminder to all of us. At the age of 43, his career just rising. Dies of a stroke, and it's a reminder to all of us that every day is a gift. And
yes, 100%.
I'm going to leave it at that. In fact, what I'm going to do, John, is take a quick break early here, so then we'll have a stretch of time to talk about the news. I want to get a couple of quick comments in about the legislature, but there are a couple of local stories worth our conversation as well. So just hang in there. John McCabe is with me. We're going to do the Ohio Valley Roundtable News Week in Review as the Watchdog Morning Show continues on a Friday.
The Metro News Update is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
is 9-1. He is without a victory in 10 starts at the famed track. Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, Brad Keselowski all at 11-1. In the PGA Tour, it's the Pebble Beach Pro-Am. Patrick Cantlay, the opening round leader at 10 under par. His odds have shortened from 8-1 to plus 175. Akshay Bhatia, Hendrik Norlander, 2 shots off the pace at 8 under par. For vsin.com, I'm Mike Sennett on The Watchdog.
Hello, everyone. From The Watchdog, I'm the Storm Tracker Darnell Foster. Weather look at your local weather forecast for your Friday. Mostly cloudy and cold through the day, a high near 36. Clouds holding strong through the evening and the overnight with temperatures near 27 for the low. Another cloud-filled afternoon for your Saturday with temperatures in the mid-30s. Have yourself a great day, everyone. From The Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster.
Facebook followers, you know the voice. Now you can see the face of our Watchdog Radio superstar, Bill DeFabio. Now on Facebook Live, weekdays from noon to 2. WKKX and WVLY. Voted coolest couple in their high school yearbook. Give us a call and tell us what you're thinking. Locally, 304-214-1600. Out of the area, toll free, 866-514-1600 or 304-232-TALK.
Here's a look at the Ohio Valley Local News Week in Review with newspaper editor John McCabe and Howard Monroe.
John, we are in that time of year where a lot of the news is coming out of Charleston. The legislature had their first full day of activity yesterday. The governor offered his State of the State speech on, Wednesday night, and things are off and running. Let's talk about a couple of those things real quick. Key thing the governor focused on in his speech really was the, as expected, income tax reduction and hopefully eventual elimination. But of course, in order to do that, he had to propose some shifting in other kinds of taxes as well.
Yeah. So, that's, right now the income tax in West Virginia provides right around half. It's just slightly less than half. I think it's about $2.1 billion of the general fund revenue, which is usually $4.5 or some billion dollars a year. So to offset that $2.1 billion, the governor had a couple of proposals that are, again, just at this point, proposals with no real detail of exactly what it's going to look like. But we had a pop in beer tax increase. We had an increase of, I think, 1.5% in the sales tax. A new wealth tax that he really didn't have any details on, and we'll have to wait and see what it looks like. And some, another $25 million, I believe, in government. Government spending cuts or government efficiencies. So that's really about all we know right now. There's been a lot of talk over the last 36 hours, I guess, since his speech was over on exactly what this is going to look like, if it's good or bad. One of our local delegates, Sean Fluharty, last afternoon presented the Democrats' response to the governor's State of the State, and specifically pointed out that in his mind, or in the Democrats' mind, that the personal income tax cut or removal, phase out would be maybe the right word, is would only benefit wealthy West Virginians, and so it's again, we're 2 days into the session. We haven't seen many particulars on that piece of legislation, or how it's going. If there's going to be multiple pieces of legislation, but that's going to be, looks like, the big issue of the session, Howard.
The governor said, I think during his State of the State speech, and then he repeated yesterday on Hoppy Kirchhoff's Talk Line show, what if I'm wrong? What if this doesn't increase any, what if people don't come to the state because of this? What have we lost? We really haven't lost anything. And I think that's awfully disingenuous. I mean, if it doesn't succeed, and I don't think it will, but if it doesn't succeed in reaching the goal of bringing all kinds of new people into the state, what we've lost is, especially border counties like ours, are going to have a serious problem competing with Ohio. I mean, we've got a 7% tax in the city of Wheeling because we have the extra 1% added on top of the state tax. Then you add another 1.5%. Now you're at 8.5%. That makes us pretty uncompetitive with our neighboring states. So if it doesn't achieve, I just think it was disingenuous when the governor said that while we have very little to lose, we have a lot to lose if it doesn't work. And I think we've got to focus on that a little bit. And as you said, the problem is we don't really have details of exactly how this whole thing's going to play out. The governor put no numbers behind any of it. So other than we know that 43% of the state budget comes in currently, the general fund comes in from the income tax, we don't really have a sense of how much the other things are supposed to bring in, nor what the $25 million in cuts are going to include. He did propose a stable budget for 3 years, no increase in the budget, which in my mind generally means you're going to have a decrease in the ability of things because of inflation and so on. So there is cost to this. If it doesn't work, the idea that there's no real cost to it, I think, is disingenuous. But we're going to have to wait and see. Now, a lot of this stuff is going to move very quickly, though, John, because they expect this session to move quickly because of fear that COVID may rise its ugly head and they may have to cancel meetings at some point. So they want to get things in and done very quickly.
Yeah, and just maybe one last proviso that I'll add to the income tax. I think and let's make sure we remind folks we have a return. Ad issue has returned. So as we talked about on ad issue, which can be found on the Topper station this week, we've got to be looking. Is the income tax right or wrong? Again, the devil's going to be in the details, 100%. But we've got to continue looking in the state at doing things differently. We've been talking about that for years. It can't just be more the same old, same old. Some of the things the governor did mention, making the state more attractive for remote learners, broadband, those are, it's all part of a bigger package of how do we change the perception of West Virginia? It's not by continuing to do things exactly the same way we always have. So
I'm 100% in agreement with that, but we also have to look at the reality of certain things. I think, for example, the idea of focusing on remote learning is huge. I think it's a great idea. City of Wheeling has been making an effort at that, going all the way back to Oric first coming to town. And I think the potential is even greater now because of the pandemic. Absolutely a great idea. But in order to make it work in much of the state, we're going to have an increase in broadband. And the governor's talking about decreasing revenue and decreasing the budget. So where's the money for increasing broadband going to come from? I mean, all of these things tie together. They're not just single items that sit out there by themselves. They interconnect. And I think we have to ask ourselves those questions too.
I agree, and those are all very good points because this is all part of what really, when you look at one big package, that many pieces are dependent on others. If we want the state to grow, we can't do that without good broadband. And again, as we talked, not just fiber optic lines running through hillsides, but it's got to be what's going to be in 10 years. What's going to be the broadband delivery mechanism? Is it going to be satellite? Is it going to be towers? Whatever it might be. So, okay, Howard. Sorry for interrupting.
No, you're absolutely right. The other again, they're trying to move things through very quickly. The House Education Committee had a meeting yesterday and already passed out a revised charter school bill.
Yes.
So, I mean, they are moving very quickly. The revised charter school bill allows, I think it's up to 10 charter school applications and would create, I forget what they call it, but essentially an additional agency, additional board to oversee the approval of charter schools. Currently, it's 3 charter schools permitted, and they have to have the approval of the local school board, and the new bill would revise that. Although I did think one of the delegates said, how many do we allow right now? 3. How many have we had right now? None. We've had 1 request and none approved. He said, so we've only had 1 request, we can allow 3, and now you want to add to 10? What exactly is, why are we doing this? But I think the key part of it is they're hoping to have an outside entity, a charter review board of some kind, to to authorize this instead of the state school board. But it's moving quickly. Again, my point on that is it's moving very, very quickly. And there's one other bill that I wanted to point out. I saw this out of Herald Dispatch yesterday. You may have covered it too, and I don't think Metro News had it up yet. But the House Health and Human Resources Committee yesterday is taking a look at a bill that would remove the power of county health departments to make pandemic orders. I'm looking for the right word and I can't find it. But they instead would have to be approved by the county commissions before they could go into effect, essentially trying to take the power away from the county health boards and turning it over to the local political entities. I don't think that's a wise idea myself, but again, I think you're going to see a lot of this effort being made in the legislature this time around to take the power away from some folks and return it to either the legislature or other political entities.
Yeah, that's, public health officials are that for a reason. May not always agree with all their decisions, but I never think that it's, I'm not one who thinks that they're uninformed or not looking out for essentially what is the best interest of the community.
I want to grab a couple of local stories here real quick, John. It's not a gigantic story. It's more a process than policy issue, but you guys have been running a couple of stories about this new contract with Greg Stewart. Greg has been the longtime county administrator in Ohio County. You and I have both for quite a few years suggested that it's too much for him to both be basically the administrator of the Highlands, which he is, and also to be the county administrator, dealing with water lines and bond issues and all that kind of stuff. And so a proposal had been made a couple of months ago and is being implemented to shift Greg's responsibilities totally to the Highlands and to hire a new county administrator. But it has not come without some process problems.
Yeah, that's the best way to look at it. Is the county had a plan last year in the fall to transition Mr. Stewart to from the position of administrator to essentially a Highlands development director, Highlands manager, whatever that title might have been, leave him a county employee. And then when it came time for the Development Authority to vote on it, since he would essentially work for the Development Authority, not for the County Commission, the contract somewhere along the line got changed and didn't get changed in a proper manner. It wasn't on the agenda that there was a revised contract on the table. It, again, all kind of process issues that we've detailed. There wasn't, adequate notice. Just a lot of different things. So. And this was back in December. The contract was approved, which immediately raised a lot of concern among one particular, Don Nickerson on the commission spoke out really quickly on it, and then some others started to really think about it again. And Don Tennant, who's the solicitor, did so. They did some investigation, identified the areas of concern, and what they're doing now and what they'll be moving forward with here soon is redoing that contract in essence. Now, not redoing the terms of it, but redoing the process of of it going through the proper channels. Again, governments have regulations and rules in place that they have to follow in terms of how these types of things can be approved. A contract, you just can't drop a contract on the city manager's desk or the county commissioner's desk and say, hey, let's approve this today. There has to be adequate public notice. There has to be adequate time for board members to know it has to go through the proper channels within maybe an executive committee on the board to draft the contract and distribute it to members. These things didn't happen here. So they now will go back and redo that.
And some may think it's bureaucratese to say this, but when the concept was that Greg Stewart, as a county employee, was simply shifting his responsibilities, they held an executive session to discuss that because it was an employee matter. When it became a contractual matter with a company, you can't have those conversations in executive session. And I know some people say, well, that's, parsing language too much, but, contractual discussions like this need to be held in public. So that's another one of the concerns that have been raised. And again, I don't want to suggest anything is wrong in terms of policy. I think Greg should be the county, the Highlands administrator. I think that makes a lot of sense and so on. But I think that there are questions here about how did some of this stuff happen? How did the contract how did an employee reassignment get replaced with a contract for a new company? How did it happen and get on an agenda without the people who are running the meeting knowing it? There's still some questions that need, I think, to be answered there.
Yeah, most definitely, and that's where what we've advocated for here from the beginning of this is, if it needs to be redone, as they're doing now, redo it. But at some point, in my opinion, there needs to be a public accounting for what happened and what procedures are in process or in place within the development authority, which is not your typical board. You have a lot of people on that board who are not they're not public officials, they're appointed board members. What processes are going to be in place moving forward to ensure that it doesn't happen again, plain and simple.
Before we leave the Ohio County Commission, there's an issue that has been resolved, I think, but it also was out. County Commission's been, we're so used to just not hearing a whole lot about them because they tend to operate not secretly, but just quietly and go about their business. Another issue that recently came up, though, was a contract with the Ohio County School Board to use county sheriff's deputies as resource officers, which they have been doing, but the original contract expired and they hadn't come up with a new one. I think they have now. But that took longer, I think, than most people expected it to take.
Yeah, they have a contract now that we'll see sheriff's deputies being in the schools for the remainder of this year, which they had been. I mean, there was one day where Sheriff Howard kind of kept his deputies out of school, and it was right when school came back. So the County Board of Education has passed that contract. It's now going on to the County Commission. What's interesting in the contract is after this year, the Board of Education has signaled its intent to reduce the number of deputies that it employs. This contract calls from 6 to 5, and moving forward, they want to go even fewer, simply because the cost structure of having a sheriff's deputy as a prevention resource officer is about double of what it is for a Wheeling police officer. And there's some different reasons why that is with health insurance and other benefits. So the Board of Education will be looking to utilize more Wheeling officers moving forward, and saving maybe upward of $200,000 a year on that contract. So that's it's always good news for the taxpayer when we can find ways to keep schools safe and do it in as efficient manner as possible. But again, that's one that never should have gotten to this point, simply because the contract expired last June, at the end of June, and here we sit 9 months later, 8 months later, and it's still not a completed deal yet, but it is quickly moving there.
Well, more details on these stories and a number of other stories on the At Issue program, which is now back. John and I taped an edition yesterday. I think it is up on topperstation.com. And will be shown 4,622 times on Much Liberty Television, as it always is. So you can catch it on Comcast Cable Channel 14, or just go to Topper Station and check it out. John, have a good weekend. I'll talk to you next week.
Okay. Thanks, Howard.
Thanks a lot. John McCabe, managing editor of the local newspapers, checking in as he always does on Friday for our roundtable. As we always wrap up the show, let's head over to the Big 7, WTRF TV, and Bob Westfall is hanging out there with some news for us about news. Good morning, Bob.
Morning, Howard. How are you on this Friday?
It's Friday. It's a handful of minutes away from 10 o'clock. My wife's got breakfast, getting ready to put it, getting ready to cook it, coming up in a minute or two here. I'm feeling good.
All right, we will be over for breakfast. A couple things we're working on early here. Got a couple presidential scholars, which is a huge couple finalists for the presidential scholars. Young man out homeschooled. I honestly had never heard of a homeschooled student being in this, but apparently we have one in our area, Ben Wade. We're going to talk to him, and we're also going to talk to a young lady out of Lindsley Annabelle Bosser is also a finalist, and those are the two. I know Wheeling Park has got 3, so we'll be talking to them probably early next week. Says a lot for the education system, especially here in the Northern Panhandle. When these kids, we get the number of kids that we have. That's quite interesting. I mean, I know as a Buckeye, there were none in Eastern Ohio, so it says a lot for the Northern Panhandle. So you'd be quite proud.
Absolutely.
A couple other things. New research identifies opportunities for tourism in Appalachia. We're going to sit down with Frank O'Brien, who's the head of the Ohio County Wheeling CVB, and see what he thinks about that report. I know I talked to him a little bit the other day. We're going to get him down on tape today and see what he thinks. Obviously, tourism is huge in the state of West Virginia. It's literally becoming the backbone as other industries slowly, if you will, disappear. So we're going to see what Frank's got to say about that report. Something a little lighter today, out of the box Valentine's Day gifts. This one was really a strange one, talking about paying off credit card balances and taking out loans for them. And then the ever-popular, give them a key to the house or your apartment. So we're going to sit down and talk to Jason Haswell about that one. Talk about the financial gifts that people are talking about this Valentine's Day weekend.
Interesting. Those are some paying off credit card loans and giving a key. I guess that's a sign of, that's a Valentine's Day sign of faith at some point. I'll give you a key to my house. Yeah, I guess so.
Also, a group called the Ohio River Valley Institute, based out of, I believe, Johnstown, released a fracking economic impact report. Obviously, I don't want to say they're an anti-fracking group, but they are a watchdog group. They obviously say it's not as financially worthwhile for the fracking to be going on in counties in Appalachia. Well, we're going to talk to Mike Chadsey, who's with the Ohio Oil and Gas Association. He's going to give their side of it, as well to a mineral rights owner out of Monroe County, Taylor Abbott. They're going to sit down. They're going to talk with Catherine this afternoon, and we'll have what they think about this report. Obviously, fracking has become a hot issue since President Biden's taken office.
Yeah, and by the way, I think that group, and I've had them on, I think they're good folks, but I think it's fair to call them an anti-fracking organization. I think they are pretty much opposed to fracking. They try and approach it from a statistical and factual point of view, but I think they're an anti-fracking group for sure. Ohio River Valley Institute or whatever that is.
Right. Well, we have their report, and like I said, we're going to talk to Mike and Taylor today. Also, Travis Braden making news. Wheeling's own stock car racer extraordinaire, if you will. Got a new partnership with racer owner BJ McLeod for trying to find some short track racers, dirt track racers that are good, could be better, but aren't getting the chance. And Travis, as anybody knows, is in that category. Good racer, got an ARCA championship, but that, without a sponsorship, it's kind of hard. So, and then BJ have started, so we're going to talk to him about that. And then probably a little more on the Daytona 500. I know he and Jesse are on their way down. So, really excited to talk to Travis about racing. It's exciting to be back on the track.
Yep.
So those are some of the bigger things we're working on. Obviously, we're going to be watching the weather all weekend. As I said, the Daytona 500 this weekend. So Scott and Victoria will be watching that race this weekend. A lot of changes in the sport, so it should be a good weekend.
All right, all that's coming up today on the Big 7. Follow it at noon, 5, 6, 10, 11, 5:30, the statewide show. And most importantly, don't forget to keep a frequent eye out at WTRF.com and also on WTRF's Facebook page where all the important news resides.
Right.
Bob, any big plans for the weekend, or are you just going to kind of hang out?
Daytona 500.
There you go. All right. Yeah. Have yourself a great weekend, and we'll talk again on Monday.
All right. Thanks, guys. You have a good weekend.
All right, thanks a lot. Bob Westfall from the Big 7, WTRF TV. It's what they're working on today over at 7. Well, let's see. Kirchhoff's got the comm coming up next. Then at noon, we'll have the WTRF TV 7 headlines, followed by today, Bill DeFabio, of course. But also, at noon today, don't forget, Brother Biff.
Donnie G
is Dancing with Dr. G, the Donnie Gilbert radio show. This week, Donnie will tabulate a survey he's been taking on the greatest love songs of all time. The greatest love song of Valentine's Day. Voice actor Garrett Gilbert will be on hand. Zara Zervos, a John Marshall High School senior, who is a Presidential Scholar finalist, will be on, and a number of other folks as well. Dancing with Dr. G today at noon. This is on WVOY 97.7 and AM 1370. And as for me, good Lord willing, creeks don't rise, bat phone doesn't ring, and don't get impeached, and don't retire. Ticker keeps on ticking. And most importantly, Teddy says it's okay to go back to work on Monday, Granddad. I'll be back Monday morning, 7 o'clock, another go-around of the big gig. Are you back with me, Biff?
back Monday, ready to start another week.
We're going to keep on doing it till we get it right.
That could be a long time.
Indeed.
The Watchdog is FM 98.1, AM 1600 WKKX Wheeling, FM 97.7, AM 1370 WVLY Moundsville.
The ABC News is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
Major pharmacies are administering COVID.
All right. We made it, considering I didn't even know what I was doing at 7 o'clock. It wasn't too bad. My kids were here. Jason and Jonathan were both here until like 10 o'clock. That's way too late for me. And I didn't even get to watch Perry Mason last night. That's how bad it was. I will catch up on it today. That's exactly right. And still have some sausage gravy and biscuits left, so I'll go have that right now. Life is good. Hopefully Teddy will let me have his candy I can give to my wife for Valentine's Day. And it's very important that he take care of that for me, because I got nothing. And that's the way it'll go. All right, if you need anything, I'm around. Give me a call. And I saw a note that asked were we on the air on the stations, but I double-checked. We were on the air on both stations, right? Yeah, and I checked the stream, and it was working okay down at Moundsville, so I don't know what the person was talking about. We are having problems with the FM in Wheeling until, because somebody actually shot our transmission line. It sounds, the FM in Wheeling doesn't sound particularly good until we get that fixed. They're fixing it. I mean, they've got the parts. They have to get up there and do it. I'd hate to be those tower guys in this kind of weather, going up on that tower. I mean, I hate to be up there anytime, don't get me wrong, but, it's got to be so cold in the tower. Oh, jeez. Yeah, but they're fixing that, so. But I just want to make sure I saw that text, but I couldn't find anything wrong with it, so. Okay, yeah, somebody was listening to the wrong station or something. All right, if you need me, I'm around. Otherwise, have a good weekend, and I'll talk to you on Monday. All right, thanks a lot. Appreciate your help, as always. All right, bye.
It's important to act now while you still have options. Optima is A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau. Optima has already resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. Get your life back. For tax help you need, for tax help you can trust, call Optima now for your free consultation.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Saying he doesn't want to be a distraction to the Tokyo Olympics, the head of the organizing committee, Yoshihiro Mori, has resigned effective today. Mori stepping down after intense criticism over sexist comments earlier this month.